Hello, everybody, and welcome to another week of the stream scene. Hope you guys are doing well. I am joined here by Backdraft, Morag, and my lovely co-host, Hunter. What's up, Hunter?
Hello, I left the audio on from the stream. I can hear two of you.
Awesome.
Good morning.
Perfect.
Lowco, I hope you had a wonderful week. I have been completely checked out with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but that's been my hard crush lately. But today's subject is incredibly interesting to me on the outside. And should, I imagine, be wildly and rabidly valuable to the majority of the people that are in the channel. We're talking about streaming and working and a lot of the balance that comes along with it. I imagine a lot of the things we're talking about today will also play into family life while, balanced with streaming, likewise with being a student, doing school stuff, how to manage that, conceptualize your time management and how to I think like run your life as this one full kind of object that's like so ridiculously busy. And our two guests today, Morag and Backdraft, they have an incredible amount of experience with this. So we're going to get some what I imagine to be some top tier wisdom and a little bit of goofing. Morag, what are you about? Who are you? What's the deal? And what are you doing here?
My name is Scott, or tehMorag, known on the internet. I've been streaming for just over 6 years now, full time from the beginning of it. But I'd also worked full time, like 60 plus hours a week for about a year and a half, 2 years of that.
60 plus hours a week?
Plus another 40 streaming. As Yado says in the chat there, if you don't sleep, you have a lot more time.
That's not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
What about you, Backdraft?
Well, my name's Backdraft, and people know me as Backdraft. I come from a lot of other nicknames. I didn't start this journey out full-time streaming. I was not 100% into this when I first started. I worked full-time in retail, and I was actually a team leader in my job. So I basically worked a full 40 hours each week. And I also tried to put in about 30 to 40 hours a week in streaming as well. So as soon as I came home from work or before I went into my shift, I was basically streaming, sleeping, working, and sometimes eating. There was a really finite balance there. And it was definitely an adventure. I've been full-time now for about 3 months, 2 or 3 months. Like basically right into August was when I got shoved into full-time. I was considering it by the end of July. It's been an adventure. It's definitely
welcome to the dark side.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's fun. It's a journey. It's a journey.
And now you work even more somehow, right?
I know.
Yeah. I sleep less now.
But yeah, so Morag, you said you've been working full time and streaming full time. Do you still do that today, despite being a full time streamer?
No, now I am pushed more over into the full-time portion because I found after about 2 years of doing like the work, sleep for a couple hours, stream, sleep for a couple more hours, work cycle for a very, very long time, it both had a impact on personal life and my health to this day that I'm still kind of dealing with.
Really?
Yeah.
But how long ago was that? Like what's that?
Ago.
4 years ago?
4 years ago. Still dealing with some of the ramifications from it.
Wow. That's crazy.
I went pretty nasty hardcore.
Yeah, I can understand that. You get caught up in the moment and you want to succeed to where you got to make some sacrifices. Like you guys know that joke on the internet, that meme that you see on Twitter all the time, where it's like, you're in college and you're either going to do really good in school or you're going to eat really well, or you're going to study and you're going to do all that. And then you got to pick one of the two. You don't get to do all three. It's the same thing.
For sure, it's definitely a balance. Especially like being like a content creator, like that in itself is like multiple jobs combined into one. Like it is a grind. If you want to make it in streaming, like like you have to be online, right? Like you have to stream a lot to get any kind of traction.
Finding ways to stay relevant.
Yeah. So,
Right.
but is there a kind of a Venn diagram where you've got some overlap and there's like a sweet spot in the middle? If there is, have you found it, or is this like is it a mythical unicorn that's like out there? We've heard tales of it, but nobody's actually found it.
I'm running around with a butterfly net outside every day trying to catch it.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Honestly, it's the same thing. You're just trying to find that well, I was trying to find that sweet point, and now more than anything, now coming into just full-time streaming, I'm finding that even to this day, trying to find those extra experiences that, or like free time. I would call it free time because you could separate both the work and then the streaming. During work time, I was still constantly thinking about streaming. When I was streaming, I was still constantly thinking about working. But
oh no.
You still had cross-pollination of ideas. So honestly, I felt that I was even more creative, I guess you could say, even at that point. So I was trying to find ways to bring in outside influences into the stream even afterwards.
Yeah. So it didn't necessarily feel like double the burden. Like you were carrying the weight of your job while streaming and carrying the weight of the stream while working. But or maybe it did feel a little bit like that, but you also had, and I like this about your mind. And I think I work a little similarly. So I paid a lot of attention to it. The ways that everything else can come in and influence something that's important to you that maybe has no direct connection. And I think that's also part of the reason why in our discussions about how to spend your time, why time off is really valuable, because of the experiences that you have that you generate when you're not streaming or working or anything else. Those will be stories that you tell on stream. There will be things that occur to your mind and the mentality that you're bringing to streaming. New things that you can bring in, new ways that you can discuss a subject, new events that you can create, and so on. That it creates a diversity in the concepts that you can bring to bear. That sounds good. That sounds valuable. Is there a trick to that to get that to work, or is that just like how you happen to work?
Forcing yourself with different experiences, honestly.
Yeah, there's a finite balance you've got to find. There were multiple occasions I would be at my job, and the fortunate side of me being like the team lead, I didn't necessarily have to work with every single customer that came across, but there'd be a time I'd be in the middle of doing a task and it would just be like a light bulb. I'd be like, whoa, this is a great idea, let me go try it. And then like I'm running back to the counter, grabbing a notepad, writing it down, rip paper out, putting it in my pocket, going back to what I'm doing. And that happened to me so many times. And it's just like you have these ideas, but you take that outside influence, you take those experiences, those stories to tell. The best thing about retail is you had a moment where it's like, I cannot believe this just happened today, and I get to tell all of you guys about it.
You just gave me a great story.
This
weird customer.
Thank you for this. I'm gonna use this later.
That's kind of actually like a really helpful thing too, because I feel like as a content creator, when you're streaming a lot, like, and you don't get those experiences, like your content kind of dries out a little bit. Like I get that sometimes too, where if I'm like super just like streaming all the time, not doing anything else, like I'll be like, I don't even know what to talk about. What did I do today? I woke up and I'm streaming, and like I did that yesterday, and I'm gonna do.
You talk about streaming while stream? Do you just have constant streamception? Like that's my situation too. Is like all I do is stream. The only commentary that I can bring from like outside of streaming is like, hey guys, I had like an extra cup of coffee today. Isn't that a fun story? It's like, I got nothing.
Go to the dog park. I promise you will see plenty of awesome things. Honestly, what I do is I try to take frequent 1 to 2 a.m. Walmart trips with my roommate. And that's
a story generator.
Wow. Content. Like intentionally for the stories?
Oh, totally. I have seen a lot of stuff at a 2 a.m. Walmart trip that is just, it's great. It's great.
It's like functional job. It's like research for your job is like.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's doing that.
Have a notepad? Interesting. Yeah. As you're observing people.
I feel like Steve Irwin walking like in the jungle there going, whoa, look at this one.
Yeah.
It's great.
So now, Morag. So we've had brief discussions before, and I've heard you talk about this kind of thing a couple of times, but mostly in passing. I was wondering if you would be willing to elaborate on it. If not, no big deal. What the nature of full-time streaming is, the qualities that define it as such. Because I think at one point you and I were talking like 3 years ago about you working and streaming, and I think I said something like, "Oh, so you don't stream full time?" Thinking because you have a job, you work full time, you don't stream full time. There can only be one, right? That has the full time quality. But you're like, no, that's not actually the way that it works. And think about it like this. So what do you think defines full time streaming? And do you think that that's helpful to this conversation of trying to find the concepts and balances and such?
Just like everything we do in life, we find ways to label each other. We find ways to set expectations based upon labels, no matter what. It's easy for us to categorize, to sort out all the information that we have in front of ourselves. We don't do it. We do it just inherently, automatically. Don't even realize it. Big, small, whatever. Full-time, part-time streaming. In some people's minds, automatically, that means that the content's going to be different.
Yeah, that's initially what I was thinking. At first, I smuggled in that assumption that it would inherently be this different thing by virtue of the definitions, the categories themselves.
Yeah, but like I know some people out there that like stream, and if you want to throw numbers out there, instantly they turn their stream on, no host, they don't network with anyone, they get 1,000 plus 1,500 plus people within minutes.
Yeah,
but they stream once every couple months.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you're going to equate out full or part time to success, then you have to understand that this is going against your own definition. Then
sure.
So if you're going to go and take a look at going back to your original question, then is there going to be a true difference? No, there really isn't. There just isn't. It's up to you as an individual and how you wish to brand yourself when you are talking to people, to work around these, as you said, uncontrollable things.
Right. So it sounds like oh, go on, Lowco.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like full-time streaming, like if someone, like when I write to companies, I mention them I'm a full-time streamer. To me, that's a sign of like your dedication in terms of like how often you stream and dependency. So like, this is my job, this is my center focus. So I mean, to me, like, full-time streaming is you're producing content very regularly, you're dependent on it, and it's like your primary focus. Like, that's what you do.
And does that then automatically, you think that this would automatically sound to a potential sponsor, partner, whatever it happens to be, sounds like you're saying automatically, just by virtue of that categorization, hey, you're going to be a big deal to me. I'm going to commit to whatever engagement we have. Like, did that automatically get sort of elevated?
Yeah, I think it's two things. It's like I'm dedicated and like I will be putting a lot of time. Like, I put a lot of time into my content. B, also I'm professional. Like, I do this as my job. That's kind of a sign of like, okay, like I know what I'm doing. So
it doesn't actually like mean that, but that's how people are automatically going to read it.
That's how I've always perceived it as, like, to be like part-time streamer. I'm thinking they're part-time maybe because they're balancing a job, or like maybe it's just not their main thing that they want to do.
So do you think there might be a value for the overall conversation and this little subset in not even necessarily utilizing this terminology? Like, this is an entirely unique, in the 21st century, a unique approach to having a career and a job and entrepreneurship and developing and running a business that in a way that we never got to see before in the 20th century. Are we doing harm by bringing in this potentially outdated terminology? Like, we're using terms that apply to your standard traditional kind of work situation into streaming, and it may not be helpful.
I mean, the only thing I would say is if you are not a full-time streamer, I would never be like, like, and you're trying to pursue becoming a full-time streamer, like, I would never be like, I'm a part-time streamer. That, like, to me is like, oh, I'm new, or I'm small, or like I'm not fully dedicated, or I don't know what I'm doing, kind of thing. Like, it kind of has like a negative connotation, in my opinion, versus just like, it's not like just strictly the hours you put in.
Hashtag
like,
support
kind of like,
part-time streamers or something.
You're limiting yourself when you put a title like that on
sure.
yourself. My classification is more so in a very classical sense, that if you're spending the majority of your time doing this and you want to pursue it as your career, you call yourself a full-time streamer. I have the very traditional mindset of, you know what, I do this 40 hours a week. I did my other job 40 hours a week, but I still called myself a full-time streamer because I was working full-time hours, putting in the work, putting in the dedication. But then once I quit my job, I then classified it as I'm going true full-time, where it's like, this is now my job. This is what I am doing.
When you say true full-time, do you really mean all time? Because that's how I feel like my classification is. I'm an all-time streamer. Like, that's all I do all day, every day. Full-time doesn't.
Pretty much. Like, that's why I called it like true full-time, because if you guys notice, whenever you're not streaming, you are in a stream. You are somewhere talking to someone about streaming. It is your life. It is your lifeblood. It is what you do.
We even have this, which is a stream about streaming.
Exactly.
On a stream.
Exactly.
From streamers.
Whew, it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. So how do you balance that? How does it work that you? Because I mean, talking to a bunch of people who've just come into my channel over the years, there seems to be an inherent struggle with, you just get done with a potentially grueling day of 6 to 10 hours of work. Some people 12, and they still turn on their stream. How, is it pure motivation? Is it like the raw engine of passion inside that's like, I'm beat, but I'm still going to go out there and somehow manage to provide energy and be interesting and play a video game, but also juggle.
Yeah, what did your guys' schedule look like when you were balancing both?
So when I was running as retail, my work schedule was 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. We were generally out of work by 10:20 to 10:40. And I drove like a madman home, run home. I would throw my green screen up. I'd get my lights turned on. I'd get everything going. And I could have had the worst day at work ever. But I learned a lesson from a very important person in my life, where they said, when you walk through that door frame, your problems, whatever they are, they stop at that door frame. When you come in here, you have no problems. You are doing this. This is your life. So no matter how bad my day at work was, I still had to go to my second job. I had to go to my passion, what I wanted to do. And I checked those problems out at the door. But then you've got an outlet. You've got people, like I see names in the chat here that it's like, I know I can message that person right now with whatever my problem is and tell it to them, because those are the people that you meet. And that's what helped you balance it, because you find the other people you want to be with and talk to.
So you would stream starting at like 11 o'clock. How long would you stream? And like, would you stream every single day? How many days do you stream a week?
I would generally try to come home. So I would generally work Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I would try to come home, be there by like 11, and then stream until like 3 or 4 a.m., sleep until 11, get up for work, get ready to go. Generally, I had 2 days a week off. I managed to convince my boss to give me Wednesdays and Thursdays off. Wednesday and Thursday, I would literally stream all day. That is all I would do. And it was a very grueling first year. I mean, I'm coming off my first year now. I started on Mixer back in February. I was partnered in September. I was denied partnership the first time, and which it just made me hit it even harder. Like, get denied something and watch what you'll do, and then you'll just crush it. It was great. It was a fire that I wish I could find again. Actually, I lost a little bit of that fire inside me, and I want to hit that again, because it was exhilarating. You would see new names and be like, hey, how are you? And it was just fun. I'm getting all nostalgic.
Yeah.
So, were there some days that you felt like for both you guys, that you just did not want to stream? Like, you just
Still to
you
this
just
day.
tired?
Well, yeah, that's
Right.
fair.
I feel like the problem that I see very often with people trying to balance both is like they come home and like, they have like a family, they have kids, they have, like other obligations and like, or they're just like exhausted after a day of work. Like what do you guys do? Do you take that day off? Do you like completely just step away from the stream? Do you try to get work done behind the scenes? What's like your usual rhythm with dealing with that kind of stuff?
Then it was stream, come home, the cool down, sleep for 3 hours, wake up, stream, and then I'd cut the stream early if need be, if I need to get any other work done. I'd sleep for a couple more hours again, and then go to work. And then during days off, I'd just sleep through the day if need be.
So sleep was like the
equalizer.
Yeah, but also sleep is the thing that you would fit into the spare time that you could carve out just to like technically not die.
Yep.
Yeah.
It sounds so brutal.
Technically, not dying is honestly the best way to pursue a future in streaming. Yes.
It does seem like a necessary but not sufficient quality.
It's pertinent.
I'd say that like I definitely went around it in such a way that it was very brute force. Like I don't have any professional background. I don't have any formal training, education, anything like that. I just did it because I said, hey, I like talking to people. I like trying to figure out problems. And you know what? I'm just going to talk with people too. Let's just do it. And I like games, and then found a way to make it work. Mm-hmm. It's going to be different for everyone, but I was lucky enough that I just like finding how to solve problems. And I said, this works, and I just made it work.
See, with me, it changed up big time because I initially was a major in nursing when I was in college. And that was my career path. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be a firefighter like my father. I wanted to follow in that career path. So the late nights was already something that was normal for me. But then,
is that why your name is your name?
Yeah. Yep. That was why my branding went that route. And it's still to this day. Like I still have my plan B right here, where I know exactly what I'm going to do if tomorrow they announce all streaming platforms are closed. And that's the biggest mistake that up and coming full-time streamers make, where it's like, okay, I am going to become the next ninja. And it's like, no, that is a great idea to have, but you need to have that plan B that you are not feasibly going to be able to do this. Do not let it inhibit how you're going to live your life and how you're going to succeed. But you need to know that, okay, if I cannot feed myself, what am I going to do to feed myself? And I think having that plan B has also fueled me farther, because I'm like, man, I really don't want to go back to school. So
right. And Hunter, have you ever had to balance like working with streaming?
I have not.
Really?
Yeah, surprising. I immediately jumped in. We have a special guest who is now going to take up shop.
Kitty.
I jumped into streaming full time right out of the gate. Full time as in, to clarify the terminologies we were talking about before, full time as in it was the only thing that I was doing. It was not just primary to a secondary thing. It was 13 hours plus hours a day from the first stream, 6 days a week. And I kind of 4 years later, I kind of still do that same thing. What?
So,
Kitty.
So, what made you, I guess, like jump into it? Like, I mean, you obviously had to have like some financial cushion to just like take that leap, right?
Yes, I did. Sorry, managing my family. So before I had started streaming, I was a career painter and artist. and I had done a pretty fantastic job of running that like a business at the same time as being able to bring the passion element that's necessary to produce, not only just, which is an interesting terminology, functionally valuable art that's beautiful and also expressive and all of that stuff, but operating it as a business in the same way. I think that was a precursor to being able to operate the stream sort of in that way. So I'd used that, and I had a pretty rich life. It almost sounds like I'm talking about the money. I'd had a pretty rich life before starting streaming. I started at 32, right? So it was like late in the game compared to quite a few people. So I'd already gone down a few roads, and that made it a lot easier. Did you balance streaming and work, Lowco?
I did not. I also jumped in full time.
You jumped in full time right from the beginning.
I know. So for me, I had just finished school. So I just graduated from college. I just ended my job as a researcher. And then I was going to have like a couple of summer classes because I was going to go to physician assistant school. So I had basically like this free summer.
Oh, that's right.
With a couple of classes when I started streaming. I was still financially dependent on my parents at the time. Still like living in my college apartment. And
that's helpful.
Started, so yeah, for sure. I mean, I was very lucky, and I also started back in 2014 when I feel like it was a lot easier to get discovered,
Yes,
compared to today's climate. And actually, that's kind of something that I want to touch on is how would you feel about like what we did, because we started streaming years ago. Like, how would you feel about someone today just like being like, you know what?
Yeah, how has that climate changed in regard to this stuff?
Honestly, I'd say still go for it, but do it responsibly.
Sure.
Like, there's still people on this day that jump into YouTube and they're good to go. Give it a month. If they know how to hit the algorithm right and find ways to push themselves to be discovered, not just on YouTube, but on external platforms as well, too. Different social medias, other sites, other partners that they work with from different connections, possibly from their jobs already.
That's true too.
They can find ways to make it work. They understand that it's not just put content out. It's put content out and make sure it's actually being seen. Which I find that is one quality that not a lot of people fully know how to grasp. Even to this day, I don't think I even know how to fully grasp it.
That's what I was just thinking. I was like, yeah, that's me.
And it's just like, and I think that's where I feel a lot of people might even be a little bit entitled to this, is that Twitch has provided and tries to constantly bring more and more viewers to look at us as an individual. But here on Twitch, you're just necrosizing each other's views at that point. How are you as an individual bringing people to the platform to watch your content versus just taking from the bigger pool that already exists, which is perfectly fine. That's business. It happens. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but how can you make yourself more stable? How can you get yourself seen properly? And how can you jump into it and actually say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it well?
So my biggest thing when I started full time is I told myself I want to start at 11 a.m. and I'm going to stream until this time, and I'm going to start at this time, and I'm going to do this. Well, then it come to my realization that, man, I've gained regular viewers and I've gained people that I want to watch, but they really can't participate until like around 4 or 5. Okay. So you got to be able to kind of go with the wind. Like you can't be just a hard, rock solid, like this is my schedule. You've got to fluctuate with your viewership and what times work for you. And you're going to realize, like, even though like I just now that example I gave you was true to me, is I started my streams at 11 a.m. That was how I wanted to do it. And as of like 2 weeks ago, I was like, wow, okay, I'm going to start starting at 4 p.m. because this is way better. This is fluctuating more. You've got to have wind in your sails. You've got to let yourself move. You can't just say, all right, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is how I'm going to succeed. And that's a big trait that new and upcoming people need to have. I wouldn't, me personally, by the way I kind of operate, I would not advise just jumping feet first and just say, I'm going to start full-time doing this.
I don't think anybody should advise that under any circumstance, which isn't to say that it can't be done, but you should never give that as a piece of advice.
Yeah. Like you've got to have something to bring to the table to help you succeed. Now, if you've got a good like gimmick, like you've got something that makes you original and it'll make you take off, and you know it'll work, and you see it work after, like what you said earlier, the first month. You see after that first month that things are blowing up, then okay, start to consider. But I gave myself like a 3-month rule where I was like, all right, let me see how I am after 3 months. After 3 months, that was when I was like, okay, I'm stepping down to part-time. But no, please don't, just like what Naders is saying in the chat, don't just jump out the plane and just say, all right, full-time streamer, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like a like I feel like streaming, when you see like people like Ninja, it's very glorified, right? It's like, oh, I can make so much money, like it looks so easy, like I could be famous, it looks like fun. But I feel like a lot of people have this like idea about streaming that like until they start, they don't really realize what goes into it, and they realize that they don't actually like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's definitely something that I would recommend. The same thing is like I would try part-time. I would try a couple hours a day, almost every day if I could, before to figure out if I even like it, if I'm even good at it, if it's something I even want to do. Is it too much work? Is it too complicated? Is it like not as fun as it looks? Like, because I mean, you'd be surprised. Like it looks like fun, but it's sometimes like you just
because you have
watch it.
You have absolutely no evidence 99% of the time that you'll be happy doing it a year out, that because you don't know what streaming for a year is like yet. You literally haven't done it. That's right. So you're initiating the thing. You want to get some information. You got to collect some data. And the only way to do it with this kind of thing is seeing what that's like, actually getting out there and experiencing that thing. And to that earlier point, that's something that comes up over and over again, is people going like, oh, I want to be the next fill in the blank. Now it's Ninja, 2 years from now it might be somebody else. But just from a raw statistical perspective, there's literally only one of that guy. Just to be clear, there's one. Out of all streamers, there's one. I think it's a much safer bet to just get that out of your head and look at what can I do? Because that guy's doing that thing. That's over there. It's singular. It seems to be an outlier. It's like by all evidence, it seems to be an outlier. So what is it that you're capable of achieving? How and why? I think if you can line those things up, it can make it a lot easier to work on the balance. You want to, if you're going to be working, I imagine it seems like a safe assumption. If you're going to be working and streaming, and ideally working toward, not ideally, but like for a particular person, working toward eventually cutting out your day job and just streaming, you have to have certain things in place, which usually requires a lot of planning and working toward that plan and having checkboxes that you can actually go like, okay, that's done. That's situated. I have X amount in the bank to pay for Y amount of time streaming where I will be making virtually no money. Plan for the worst. Expect the worst and hope for the best and work toward the best.
Use a little bit of a supernatural mentality. It's called the Winchester Law, where even if nothing can go wrong, it'll still go wrong. And then that way you'll never be surprised.
Sounds right.
My biggest thing that I've seen, so I love when the media is saying like, all right, yes, Ninja and Dr. Disrespect and all this. And it's like, guys, they've been producing content for 6+ years. These guys are just now blowing up. They are just now taking the streaming scene. They've been doing this for 6 years.
That was another. I didn't know that about Ninja. I thought Ninja had just shown up and started streaming, was really good, and then caught some lucky breaks and exploded with quality content and interesting approach to stuff. But I only recently found out that he's been streaming for 6 years. Like he's actually like an old school streamer. I had no idea because I'd never heard of him because,
people don't.
like with everybody else, he wasn't a big deal before he was a big deal.
Yep.
Dr. Disrespect is the same thing too. He was back on YouTube a very, very long time ago.
Is that right?
And he stopped.
I didn't know that.
Dr. Disrespect was a character created on YouTube a long time ago. He stopped because he went to work in the gaming industry, and then because he worked on Call of Duty.
That's right. I think I
maps for
remember that.
Advanced Warfare, and then went back to Dr. Disrespect, and only within the last year and a half did he actually explode. And then now he's sitting at 47,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it takes hard work. It's you can't ever give up. You gotta put the hammer down. You gotta put that throttle down, but you gotta find that finite balance.
So,
Go
ahead, Morag.
I was going to say another way to take a look at it is like if you want to take a look at this pure as a business, you want to make money and only do that, then you know what? You can jump in and see if it works. And then if it doesn't, get out. Like that. It's like, it doesn't work. I'll go find something else. And you go do something else. But if you end up starting it off as just enjoy, you truly enjoy it and you will do it regardless of time commitment whatsoever, it is part of your daily commitment. You know, you work full time and then you stream an hour or two every other day. Nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
It grows possibly. People will enjoy it. You can still find ways to add on to it. You don't need to go in and just go headstrong into it. And you can enjoy streaming without that extra effort.
Absolutely. And I think to that point, if you can't enjoy it when you're not doing it full time, how do you think that's going to work out when you have to do it full time? And like, that's the only thing that you can do for your revenue because you're fully committed on the far end of it. If you can't get in after your regular job or something and turn it into a good stream and have a good time with it, like if you can't do that, then you've got a really poor set of evidence for whether or not you're going to be able to produce quality content when you're having a really bad day, a really bad week, somebody breaks up with you, something happens to a pet or a family member, or you're running into financial struggles or so on and so forth. If you can't find that passion in the small amounts of time that you're able to commit, how are you going to do it for the massive ones?
Yeah. Actually, I guess actually really kind of good background for me too is like streaming wasn't the first content creation I did. I did YouTube as well too, way back in the day.
Really?
I had a daily schedule that I put myself on, edited, uploaded, and then after that, I did community management for a Minecraft machinima back in the day as well too, and had to run like 300-person servers when it was impossible to get over 200 on a server properly. So like I had that extra background before I even got into streaming as well. So I had some tools that I already jumped in with. So that's why I'm like, I'll do this. I can do it. Again, that responsibility, knowing what tools were needed before jumping in was a big important thing for me.
That kind of touches on what we talked about, I think like 2 weeks ago with being with streaming industry jobs. Like, you know, you can have a paid sustainable job that's in the industry as well, take some steps that way and tack on the streaming there. And then you're cross-pollinating at that point.
Seriously, Clara is a good example of that. Oh, I love her.
We had her on the show.
That's who we had on the
The best thing I can say with that is I am Brandon. Like, I love that dude. Like,
that's also who
these are the two people we had on the show.
Yeah.
For that topic.
Exactly. Like
nailed it.
He posted a tweet that I loved, and he said, "Do not be afraid to take the job in the industry you're already working in." It's like, that is a good step in the right direction. Like, and it'll keep you alive. It'll keep you afloat. If you realize you like to work with people and you like influencer stuff, like with me, I love the idea of influencer stuff. I love the idea of being able to look at content creators and say, you've got talent. You got it, kid. Let's get you somewhere where you can succeed. Like, stay golden, pony boy. Let's go. I love that. Work in the field you want to be in and love what you do, but don't go into this thinking like it's a job first. Like, the mistake you see nowadays is everyone's like, I'm going to start streaming and become a multimillionaire and I want a boat and I want a house. It's like, no, go into this thinking you're not going to make a dime, and you're going to be so much happier.
I mean, I think that going back to that same thing that I like to bring up regularly is plan for and expect the worst, hope for the best, and work toward the best. It's like you get two things on the one side, you get two things on the other, and it creates, I think, an ideal scenario for the approach.
So here's an interesting thing. The affiliate system with Twitch. Now it's so easy to, with a little consistency and a friend and a parent or someone, watch a stream,
Sibling,
get affiliate, and all of a sudden you have these like extra integrated monetization options to make a little bit of money. Do you think that changes like how people should approach jumping into streaming?
Rephrase that for me real quick.
So with the Twitch affiliate system, it is easier to make money.
Yes.
From any level of streaming. So you don't have to actually be a full-time streamer to, I guess, basically get to that point. Like, so what I'm saying is, I feel like it's a little bit easier now for people to become an affiliate, start making money, build up those subs, build up those bits and stuff like that, where it's like, you're still only doing it part-time because that barrier of like monetization options is a lot lower.
Yeah, but I think at the beginning, at the start of everything, like, so say I had done my journey on Twitch instead of Mixer. When I had started, they had not quite rolled the Twitch affiliate system out yet. They were just starting with it. But that extra 20 or 30 bucks a month, I mean, that could have made a ton of difference. Like just a little bit. And I've learned this now is you treat that little bit, you treat it special every time because you're like, you know what? Okay, I can apply this to this. And in that growth phase, that beginning makes a huge difference, and it could really set you on the right path because it'll show you, okay, I've got people that want to watch my content. And I think it'll help in the beginning. I really wish Mixer would have a system like that. I think that would really go a long way for a lot of early content creators. But I think Morag, you've got a little bit more experience in the industry than I do. I think you might be able to touch on that a little bit better than I can.
Thank you. One thing about the affiliate program, I've always been an advocate for letting everyone have all the features on Twitch, like right off the get-go. I've always been an advocate for that. I want people to succeed. But one of the dangers of that is instant gratification. People see that they're getting their subs, they're getting their bits, they're running ads, they see the dollars go up, and there's just little dollars here and there. But then they just jump the fence. And without kind of having, that extra kind of forethought into, well, what if? Or well, will this last? Even with sub bombs with sub gifting here on like I've seen some people get some ridiculous, phenomenal, crazy, awesome sub counts. But I also equate this out to a couple of years back, Hunter, you might remember this, is when Twitch started partnering people left, right, and center. And then 6 months later, it was this very mellow, half kind of like super concentrate on mental health because people were upset. They didn't understand why it wasn't working because they reached that goal of partnership. And then all of a sudden they had no other goals. They didn't set out the boundaries for their community. They didn't brand themselves. They didn't know who they were. They were achieving partnership. Yeah. And their communities didn't know that either. So we saw this massive downfall of just a bunch of these Twitch partners just dropping like flies. And affiliate, it hasn't happened to the extent it has. And if anything, I'd equate that out to the $100 payout helping a lot with that.
Yeah.
The minimum $100 payout, because it doesn't make it so then they see that small amount of money coming in and they're like, I can do this. Honestly, if you feel that does end up being there, there's other monetization options like affiliate links, like a donation button or tip button. Sorry. There's different ways that you could make more than what Twitch is providing you right now. If you really need to make money right now, like there are ways. It's up to you to find ways to monetize that. So I can tell about that later.
I hope so. I feel like to that point, there's the one concern which is, as was discussed, and I saw Wes mention something about this in the chat, the concern of poisoning the well, that where previously you had to have this higher goal and you had to reach that higher goal, the higher goal being partnership by itself. And we hear this discussed a lot, usually on Twitter, the hazards of the affiliate program and so on. But I think at the same time, it can very easily immediately provide perspective, because you can, outside of the sub-gift bomb, I think it can immediately provide some perspective, because you don't have this imagined scenario that only occurs after partnership, where previously I would see a lot of people go like, once I get partnership, I'll be so rich. Essentially, I'll have tons of subs coming in. It's like, and all this good stuff is going to happen. And then, like you were saying, it's like you get partnership, and then it's like,
surprise.
Oh, yeah, like you get that first bump on the first month because everybody's like, woohoo! And then you have the crater afterward, and you never really feel that. It's just a slow climb back up. I feel like that there is a benefit to the affiliateship in exactly providing that context way ahead of time. You're like,
Right.
now I can, if I'm paying the right type of attention, which is pretty easy to have, see that that just because you have a sub button doesn't mean that everybody who's in your chat will sub. You have to.
It doesn't equate to
this
success.
whole ecosystem.
Right. Like I wonder how many people are an affiliate that have not accrued the $100 minimum payout. How many people gave up streaming in general because they got this affiliate button, thought they were going to make money, didn't make money, got too discouraged, right? They didn't see the money, so they're like, okay, well.
I think that's a good lesson to learn in advance.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, everyone warns of that partner, the partner drop, right? That happens after the first month. Like,
yeah.
It's coming when you get partnered, and it's at that point it's tough because it is a higher level. You think like, most of these people, when you get partnered, you're probably full time, like or you're close to that, right? So I do think that is a good point that you made.
And Reno said they got their first payout today. That's awesome. But
and Povo.
Oh, it's sick.
First payout this week.
Nice. See, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I personally, I think the $100 is like a little high. But then again, I see the point. But it all just goes down to the same thing where it's like you gotta put those horse blinders up when you're streaming. Like that money has got to be on the side. You just gotta roll. Just keep trucking forward. Don't care about what PayPal says. Don't care about what your bank says. I don't care what Wells Fargo says. Put the blinders up and go. But don't put the blinders up in a way where you're like, you swipe your debit card and
right.
Nope. Yeah.
Well, and therein lies the joy and value of working while you stream, right? Because you didn't drop $5,000 on your whole streaming setup and go like, it's gonna be perfect, and I quit my day job and I'm diving. You are already creating that balance. You are already a functional working adult in that regard, and that will immediately provide you some of the context that you need to be able to balance those things out at the same time as you're not going to fail to eat because your stream isn't paying out. Yeah. And regardless of how the stream works out, you still have income coming in. You still have that balance, and hopefully, ideally, benefits like insurance and such.
You notice how we're not talking about like paying bills, like paying your phone bill, paying your light bill. We're focused on food. This is how you know we're content creators.
I'm eating so much rice this month.
I focus purely on that. I'm just like, okay, can I go to the grocery store and get all the noms, bring it back, and then sit on stream and eat noms? It's great. It's a nice balance, sitting and having lunch with people.
So when you guys were thinking about transitioning to full-time streaming, what was your mindset? Like, were you trying to hit like a certain, like, let's say a sub count or a revenue, like having like a certain amount in your savings and like a certain viewership? Like, what was your guys' thinking?
Oh, sorry. My sky high goal, I've still yet to reach to this day, for reasons possibly. I anyway, but I ended up jumping ultimately because it was my personal health that was starting to take a hit, and I needed to find a way to balance that, and ultimately, sit down and write the pros cons list to, well, I guess I have to value health a little bit more now. Where can I actually divvy up my time? So that was ultimately my big change for why I went more towards streaming.
So I sat down with a spiral notebook, college ruled red cover. It's here somewhere. And I wrote down 500 subs and then $300 over what I was making a month. And I said, if I can consistently hit that for 3 months, I'm going to do it. So I started to get close because Mixer rolled out a big wave of free subs.
That's right.
Our 1 year anniversary. And I was like, this doesn't count. This doesn't count at all. So
See, smart moves.
None of that. So I wrote that down. And mind you, I never achieved the 500 subs. Didn't even achieve it. But as changes happen in the landscape, and because there's a whole nother factor that you can't measure. You cannot measure donation revenue. There is no measurement to that.
You can't predict it. Yeah.
No, like there's some days you get a $5 bomb, and there's another days you get $1,000. Like you don't know what's going to happen because there's so many people in this that want to help you. But you also can't really entirely count the donation revenue as like I'm going to go ahead and do this because it's unpredictable. But if
totally
you're cushioned on sub, go ahead, Lowco. I'm sorry.
No, I was just adding to that. Yeah, it's totally inconsistent.
Exactly. But if you have something like 500 subscribers and they are consistent people, they are here to help you. They want to watch you. You go live and boom, they're there. You can rely on that cushion because those people are the ones that are there, rock solid for you. They want to be there to help you. And that's a good basis to imagine is, okay, what do I want my sub count to be? And where do I want to go with it?
Yeah, I think metrics like sub count and like using like a Patreon or something, while those numbers do fluctuate, and you're very smart to recognize like and especially with us with the recent like sub bombing, we're like, okay, our sub counts are really high. We know it's gonna drop a lot in the next month. So being able to recognize that, outside of those fluctuations, like your sub count, your Patreon sub count, like those are gonna be, within a certain margin of being the same. So that could be a very good indicator to figure out like how much money you need to bring in and what number you need to hit.
So let me I'm gonna throw you a curveball. All right, you're the host. I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you advise, so you've been in this industry for a long time, you've been doing this for quite a while. I've watched you for forever. Do you advise new streamers to open up a Patreon to run a service like that?
Honestly, when you're starting out streaming, I don't recommend monetizing at all. I think that you should be focusing on your content, focusing on learning how to stream and getting good at it, and figuring out if you like it or not. I think new streamers that try to monetize all over the place, it comes across as being like, oh, you just want to make money. Like
the perspective on it is rough.
It's not a great like first impression when you see like a tip button and a Patreon and affiliate links all over the place, and you look at their past videos and they've streamed once in the last month, and you're like, you're not selling loyalty.
Absolutely. To that point, you have to create the thing that people want to support before they'll support it. So
right.
In my experience, that's what I did as well. I didn't have a tip button at all. Actually, this is 4 years ago. There's no affiliate ship. I didn't have a tip button at all for the first couple of months. I don't remember how long it was now. It's something like 3 months. And then I added a tip button in and sort of hyped it up, right? It was like, it's a thing that you can do. Now people who love the stream have a way to support it. Do whatever you want with that. And it was huge. It was huge because it rolled out that way. There was the evidence that I care first about the content. I was like clearly, because there's not even option, there's no opportunity to pay me in any way. No PO box, no nothing. It was just, let's get in there and do the work. Let's make that thing as beautiful as we can get it. and then let people decide whether or not that's worth supporting. Add in the factors afterward, and then you can go with that. And to the specific point of Patreon, one of the great things about Patreon is it allows you to create goals within Patreon that once you hit certain targets, you can, what's that?
And content as well. Like you're actually making something that that person's going to get. So if they like it, it's buying into itself.
Right. And
I think also like, and I think like with Twitch having like the affiliate system, like that makes it so much like it's integrated, right? So you don't have to do all these monetization methods. Like if you make affiliate, like, and you just choose to go that way to monetize, like it's like there's a sub button, you can share. It's like very subtle, right? It's not like you scroll down and you see all these like ads for giving me money, right? So like that's nice for people that are starting out.
So one of my big things that I personally love is two sources, Loots and Gawkbox, because there's one thing you've got to acknowledge as a streamer is monetization is important, but it cannot be like your head or your focus. One of my biggest things that I look at whenever I'm going into a new streamer's channel is I look at their bio. So the way layout is on Mixer is it doesn't really matter how you have your windows scaled. It is all top down. So like, you know, Twitch, like as you move your window, like your panels move, it stays very fluid. But I can see what is at the top of your thing. And if a tip button is at the top of your panels, I'm a little bit turned off.
Yeah. Still to this day, it's like 5th panel down or something on mine.
Yeah. Mine is like third in there. But my first 2 is an about me and my schedule. The 2 most important things on that panel, like on my panels, is my schedule, who I am. That is what I want people to see first. And it also just gives off a better impression because it's like, I am a content creator. I don't want you to just come into the stream and then follow and leave and never come back. I want to create a community member. I want you to hang out. I want you to be a part of this adventure. I talk with my hands a lot.
Me too. My Fitbit is I get a 3,000 steps before the end of the show because I'm like, but yeah, like to that. I think to that point, if somebody wants to support you economically, they're not only going to do that because they see it presented there. Most people who want to contribute, they want to do that in their own mind because of how they feel watching the stream or engaging with you and so on. They'll go look for it. They don't have like a 3-second window of tipping or not tipping, right? They're going to scroll down and see it down there. It's not. I feel like there are ways in which it's unproblematic, but you at least run the risk of having a negative perception because it's up first there. I don't think it inherently means anything, but it doesn't matter as much what it means as how it's perceived, right? Support finds a way. Thanks, Jurassic Tips.
That's funny. No, it's a beautiful industry. It requires a lot of work, and you got to care about your community first, because if there's one thing that a new viewer is going to know when they join in is if you genuinely care about them. If you genuinely care about producing content. I produce content and play a game second. Like I try to be a personality. I'm not the best at PUBG. I'm not the best at Call of Duty, but I try to make
all of us do that. Yeah. For the 4 of us here.
Exactly. Like, especially Lowco. She's funny. Like, and that's her biggest quirk. And you've got to have something. Like,
can we get a clip of this? Can I put this on my resume?
Morag has like beautiful analysis. Like you can ask him something about the game that he's playing, whatever game he's playing, and he can give you this like deep read on that game, how it ties into some other game you probably played with a certain kind of mechanic, a world dynamic or whatever. Like he can give you this whole, and there's like this depth in the conversation. It's really immediately engaged. He manages to usually still play the game while he's doing that. For me, I pause it for 10 minutes. And there's no more gameplay. Yeah.
Exactly.
By the way, guys, we're gonna start taking questions for Q&A. Just want to throw that out there. If you guys have any questions, throw them in chat, and we'll try to answer them.
Yeah, give us some questions. They could be particular to, because as we're talking in the overall topic, which ties into seemingly everything else, is the working and streaming both hand in hand, which includes, I think, time management for family stuff, time management for school stuff, and job at the same time. If you have something that's particular and unique to your situation, and you want to ask a question about that, feel free. Also, the general questions about the subject.
So I actually saw a question earlier that I was like, I want to answer that, but I was like, wait a minute, we have Q&A later. They were like, how do you pick out your best stream time and what works for you? And like, or like, how do you pick out what the most successful stream time? And the answer to that is there isn't one. Like, you're going to find a niche, you're going to find a corner, you're going to find a time where your community wants to be. And that's what you got to, in my opinion, that's what you got to base that around. You got to base that around your community's needs. I built around what they want. I'm sure you guys all have your own different ideals on how you found your appropriate stream times, but I found mine based off of where I saw that the most of my regulars, they could make it. They were there in attendance.
Well, so that makes a lot of sense when you're streaming part-time and you can only stream during a certain window. Like when you're streaming consistently at a time every day, it is very, very unwise to just completely change that, like out of the blue. Like it's gonna hurt real bad. For me, it's, my energy levels. Like ultimately it should come down to what you need. Like I can't stream late at night. I will be tired. I'm an early person. I wake up early. I can't stream late into the night. I don't like to stream in the dark. I don't like it. I used to stream like noon to 7 when I was like balancing classes and stuff. And then I pulled it back to 11 to 6. So I shifted it earlier an hour, and then I cut out an hour at the end of my stream because I was getting tired. So I went from 7 hours a day to
those are small steps. I like that.
Right. So I only shifted it back an hour. I've thought about shifting it another hour. But yeah, I would say it depends on you, your energy levels, and where you can be consistent too. I think is very important. Like you want to try to start at the same time,
ideally,
every day or as many days in a row. Like that, you want to start within like the same time frame. You don't want to stream in the morning Tuesday and then at night on Wednesday, because like Backdraft learned, like you don't get your audience at 11 a.m. is not likely to be there at 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was talking to somebody about this last night at the Portland meetup, who coincidentally works full time and streams full time side by side. And he mentioned a friend of his, and I've known a couple of people who tried to do this same thing, who's a nurse. And you guys know that nurse schedules are completely bonkers. You'll have it in the morning one day, you'll have a 24-hour the next day, you'll have this just all over the place trying to stream, and it seems like that is the most impossible situation with a complete lack of consistency, because you cannot be consistent with that kind of job. Then you can't have the same people showing up because they're from all over the world at different times of the day. What about you, Morag, with your scheduling and arriving at it and maintaining it where you are now?
I am definitely not going to be the best.
Oh yeah.
the best example of what start on time means. I have ultimately gone out and like flat out and said, like, if you want to know when I start streaming, have alerts on. 100%. That is how I roll nowadays. That is what I do.
Yeah.
And it's trying to create that consistency of, it's not a start time. It's, I will be here and I will be here during this amount of time. And you, I know that you can go and pull out the analogy, you bring out like the storefront sign. It's like, well, sometimes here this time to this time might not be here and whatnot.
I have a few community members rolling their eyes right now. They're like,
yes.
That's you.
But there is a degree of what works for you as an individual.
Yep.
And what your expectation is that you present to your community.
Yeah.
That is, I don't think I've enforced that enough. Your expectation that you push is what people latch onto. If you're building, it is your drive, and it is your community's drive and your content's drive. If you do not communicate your expectations and your reasons, everything will dry up.
Mhm.
If there is one thing, the single thing, there has to be a good reason.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think it sounds, the way that you described it very briefly, it sounds like you and I do a very similar thing. I have a streaming window. I will always be streaming. Yeah, I will always be streaming at certain times, but my start time and my end time are not always guaranteed, especially the start time. And yeah, I think there's a lot of this kind of.
I know it's funny. I'm not gonna lie. When we're talking about stats and analytics and whatnot, you're one of the people that I keep an eye on. So
I have learned from this discussion that I want to be more like a Lowco with my scheduling, but I'm with the bros on this one.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
I start at 11 o'clock every single day. I try to end, so my schedule's 11 to 5. Sometimes I'll end like a little bit early. Like if we have like the show like today and Tuesday, I'll end a little bit early. Or if I'm just like if I'm just not feeling it, I'll end like, 20, 30 minutes early. But other than that, I'm starting by like 11, 11:10 every single day. So, I'm very rarely late unless like something popped up out of my control.
I feel like there's the ideal scenario. It's a hypothetical ideal. I feel like the ideal scenario, without any other factors being involved, is that you have a consistent schedule that's always the same. But that doesn't make it the right choice, right? Because I bring that up every once in a while, that it's the best hypothetical scenario. But for me, and I still want to try a schedule again. For me, I'm the happiest streamer and I'm the happiest hunter when I can sleep for as long as I need to, because I'm very sleep sensitive, and wake up. I don't have a job that I have to do other than streaming. So I can commit the entire rest of my day to streaming. I don't have to partition my time. But even if you do have to partition your time, I feel like it's the same thing. The best content that you create is when you are the most satisfied and pleased and passionate and interested, which is the same thing as interesting. You bring that satisfaction to the stream, and whatever time that means that you got to be there to do that, that's the best choice that you can make. Completely agree.
So with the, go ahead, Morag.
I was gonna say, like, if I had fully branded content, say like the show that we're on right now, yeah, having a set schedule makes 100% sense.
Yes, definitely that.
Yep.
If you're one of these, and I would label it variety streamers, that ends up kind of jumping game to game, which means that your community is going to be very varied as well too. You're going to be all over the place. You don't have a true branding for what the expectation is, except for you. You are the thing that keeps that together.
Very good point.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have true branding per se, unless you have something to fully push. And and there's definitely some streamers out there that have figured that out. And I would say Ko is a good example of that. He knows his branding. He knows what it is, and he pushes that very hard. And that is where I think the consistency with a schedule can come into play, especially for a very defined start and end time, when you do have that full expectation.
So how does this answer change if you're part-time and you can only put in like 3 to 4 hours a couple days a week?
You can still push that same branding. Like I said, I said this off stream. Like, I know of some people that will only stream a couple hours every month or two. They pop on, people already know what the expectation is. People jump in. They're not popular on YouTube, nothing. They have slowly, they were one of the first streamers I found. Monotone Tim, people don't know. He streams so randomly.
Yeah.
And he just, bam, people come in because people know what to expect from him.
Did Mr. Moon also do that earlier? He, like, for RP stuff and hosting servers and whatnot, would be just like, I just recently heard about this, that he just come on sometimes and everybody's like, oh, it's a big deal because it's one of his streams and we rarely get to see it, and it'd be this big flood.
Yeah,
but I think that's like the exception, not the
probably
rule. Like, for most people, like, you aren't going to turn on your stream once a month and get all these people coming in. Like, you're going to get probably no one coming in.
That's the outcome of it. It's the work that leads up into it. that matters. How are you being discovered? What's the content? And how are you presenting it? The viewers, that's the after portion. You may or may not do it if you didn't end up doing the follow-up work to it. If you go out and get a job in almost any industry, you still need some sort of education to get into the job, and then you get the money from it. Streaming is no different.
Except your money is not salaried. Like, it's entirely dependent on being discovered. So, like, I mean, I think for, like, the average person trying to get into streaming who don't have a following, who are balancing working full-time and family and, like, streaming, you know, a couple hours a day, couple days a week, like, I think that you need that start time consistency. More than anything.
I'd say that talking and networking is more important than consistency at that point. Personally,
that's the priority.
For sure.
How are people going to find you, even know about you? Here's a good example: mods and channels. You will see sometimes some mods will get hyped up and saying this person's gonna stream if they get X amount of followers, and then bam, all of a sudden they get that, and then they start streaming.
That.
They get it, and they do their once a year stream. It's the idea that they end up having the exposure. They have the knowledge that they exist already, and then you can end up doing it. I will go and say that when I started out on Twitch, I had already a portion of people that came from both my community management job and YouTube that I was able to bring in and instantly have 20 viewers. I wasn't at the bottom of the list. I was able to build up from there. I had exposure and I had previous discovery before coming into it. Regardless if I had a consistent schedule or not to begin with, if I am just, you know, if I'm going to go out and set up a lemonade stand, but no one knows I exist on the corner of the street, how will people know to come and see me? I'm still out there 8 hours a day. It doesn't mean that people are going to come buy my lemonade.
So it's also, yeah, part of an ecosystem of trying to maximize everything, never being able to maximize everything. So where are you willing to cut? I would imagine when it comes to time stuff, as long as you are able to still produce the best possible content, you're probably better off making time adjustments that just work better for you, even if it's not always the same. Even if it's not the consistent schedule. Yeah, I think yeah. It sounds like we're more or less coming back to that.
Yeah. Like I'm not saying that a set schedule is bad. I'm not saying that. And I say it does because that'd
be a very challenging argument to make, you too.
Because it is the expectation that you tell people that are there already. But how do you get them there to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think it's like definitely both go hand in hand. Like,
yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people forget. Like, they think like they just gotta stream, and don't think about like the networking aspect of it.
Yeah, like just being on camera purely doesn't.
Right, because discoverability on Twitch, I mean, it's you know, I think the tag system's a little bit helpful, but still very tough when you're starting from the bottom.
Thank you for using tags on this broadcast.
To throw a total thing just like out of left field, what Kira asked earlier, what you put in Discord, Lowco.
Right.
No matter how consistent you keep your schedule, how do you manage to stream when anxiety and depression hit and you don't want to even get out of bed that day? I personally don't have personal experience with this as how I've gone through it, because I'm one of those people that I can power through a bad mood and I can do things, but I know a lot of people that suffer from that and they cannot get out of bed in the morning. So if you can touch bases on that, please do.
And when you can, if to the broader subject at hand, you are applying all of your energy to do your regular job too, right? And then you're done. Like, you got out of bed, check. That's like the biggest move of the day. It's like, so I've suffered from chronic depression for most of my life. I don't think I can comment on this in particular because it hasn't happened since I started streaming, bizarrely. And I think the reason for that is that I'm out of the state that I was in. I'm very temperature sensitive. It's made a magical difference. But you're going to expend all of your energy on the other things that are definitely necessary, right? If you have a family, you're going to be prioritizing them. If you have a job, you don't want to get fired. You want to make sure that you're performing. So you're prioritizing that. If the depression and anxiety are sapping all of your energy, I don't know how you deal with that, trying to get onto the stream, turn the camera on, to get the mic going, have a flow that creates enjoyment. I'm not sure. Yeah, either of you other guys have it?
I'd almost go and say, like, I know that for me, anxiety and depression has gotten worse with streaming, but even then, in my past job, it was definitely there too. There were days that I just called in saying I'm sick.
Click.
And that's just the reality.
I didn't give them time or anything to say that. It popped up ever so often. It was probably not the best thing to do, as I put myself up above everything. But to this day, it's trying to find, even with streaming, with my past job, with my family, everything, finding ways to get by that. I don't think is exclusive to streaming in any capacity. That is a you have to really look after yourself above everything first.
Yeah.
It's not a streaming thing.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to get around. Like I said, I know a lot of people that suffer from that regularly. Even in times my own mother had, issues with depression, that she couldn't stay motivated to do different things. But you've got to find that internal fire inside of you where it's like, you know what? I know that I'm going to be playing video games. I love playing video games. I want to play what I love. I want to play what makes me happy. And then in the meantime, hitting the start stream button at the same time and just rolling into it and realizing that you're starting up a stream to a bunch of people you've never met but are your best friends. And they have become your family. Like your chat is not just a bunch of random names that is just like, oh yeah, you're in here every day. Like they're your friends that if you meet these people at an event, you're going to act like you've known each other your whole freaking life, because it's like, you know each other so well through the internet. That's the only trait I think I can offer you to say, power through that and always know that there are other outlets to reach out to help get you to a better state.
And actually kind of tying to that a bit, Mel asks, do any of you guys suffer from pre-stream anxiety, like when you get anxious about streaming and it causes you stress before your stream? And if so, how do you cope? You guys get pre-stream anxiousness?
Twice a week.
Whenever I was doing YouTube videos, just even hitting before I hitting the record button, not even live. This is recorded where I know I could go and cut it out after.
I can edit whatever I want.
Yeah, like even this day, like I tried going back and doing videos. Like I'd be outside, I'd have the camera up, and I just stand there. I'm just like, I can't hit the record button. It's easier to hit go live than it is hit the record button when I know I can edit afterwards.
That's strange. I experienced the same thing.
There was actually another scenario. Went to PAX, my very first PAX, bought way too many business cards, and I realized I did.
3,000?
2,500.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I remember this story.
And this is before Twitch had its new logo, its current logo and everything. They had like this little, it was a block fort of a booth and everything. But I went up and down lines, and I think you get kicked out of PAX for doing this nowadays. I just handed out my business card. I went up and down every line, handing out my business card. It's the same business card still this day because I'm still trying to use them all up.
He's very frugal.
And like I went to the Twitch panel, which had Man vs. Game and a couple other awesome people on there, John Carnage, and I think it was Foom, I want to say. But anyway, I went up and down the line before the panel. I talked to people inside there. I was next to them in their chairs, giving them my card, talking to them. Even when I go to PAX Prime, there's the one viewer and their father who really wants to get into streaming, who can find me every single PAX Prime now for 6 years, saying, "Oh man, it's so good to see you're still doing this." And then at the end of the panel, ran to the door, handed out my cards again. But every single time I did that, anxiety all the time, every time. Yep. It was awful. How to get over it? I did it.
That's what I was gonna. Yeah. Really, just buckle. There's definitely something in between the two, but I don't know what it is.
I dealt with the sweaty clothes after.
So
see, I don't get any anxiousness anymore before I start streaming, like at all. Like I don't know. I don't know what it is.
When I first started, I had that problem where it's like, oh my God, I'm scared. I don't.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I would find my favorite rock and roll song, whatever that may be. A few of my community members can probably take a few guesses and you'll figure it out. But you turn it all the way up, jam it in my head for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then start it over, click start stream. that starts playing whenever I'm live. So I'm listening to it again, and I'd roll with it. And then you come in energized, you're ready to go, because music is a big factor in my life.
For sure.
I don't recommend playing copyrighted music over stream. But
we did a stream about that.
Yeah, no, don't do it. But don't do it. But one thing, there's a video I would always watch on YouTube whenever I'm having a really bad day or a really bad night. And all you got to do is type in YouTube, start off by making your bed. And it's going to show you a Navy SEAL who's speaking at college in Texas. And he says, if you want to do the little things right, start off by making your bed. It's a small task completed, but it's the first task of the day. And when you complete one small task, all the other tasks are going to come easy. And that literally, I've watched that video a million times.
And if you have a horrible day, you still come home to a well-made bed.
Yep, that you made. He's seen the video.
I've seen the video. I watched that thing on repeat for like 12 hours.
Yep, pretty much.
As for the anxiety, I think I have more anxiety now starting a stream than I don't think I had any anxiety starting it up initially, because I was like, I have a plan. I mean, I still do. It's like I have a plan, I have a mission, I have a vision. We're going toward that vision. The mission is the guidelines, the railing. I'm sticking within that. I got it. It's all mapped out. Click the button, do the thing, let it flow. Now I think I have a lot of anxiety. Not a lot of anxiety. I don't know why that got so hyperbolic. I have crippling anxiety. A tiny little bit of anxiety. A little bit of anxiety starting a stream. I think because I do so much more work now at the beginning of the stream. I have to edit like 12 commands every time I start up a stream. I have to change a Gleam giveaway. I have to, create the tweet. I have to come up with something witty, change the title, provide a GIF, do all this stuff. And I do that all within like the 8 to 10 minutes of my pre-roll stuff. And I think it's that causes me anxiety. So I know what could limit it. It's getting rid of the stuff that causes it. I can take a different approach, and I wouldn't have that anxiety. So I think to Mel's point, I know he's recently started streaming as a friend of viewer. That is a matter of acclimation. Doing it until that just stops. Doing it until you're not anxious anymore because you've been doing it for long enough. So if you know that that's on the end of that road, you just stay on the road until you get to your destination. And I think it's kind of as simple as that. I don't think there's necessarily, there are a bunch of things that you could do in the meantime, like have people who hype you up and actually get them to help hype you up. Your husband, sweetie, wife, girlfriend, best friend, somebody who regularly talks to you on Twitter, your cat. You're like, yeah, cat, high five, cat. And cat's like, meow, play with me. You're like, yeah, I can do it too. I believe in me. Whatever it takes. Listen to that hyped up music. Listening to motivational speaking. That could be a big one too. Like that could get an entirely different mentality, like a flood of unique hormones that get you going because you're like, oh yes, I believe in myself now all of a sudden.
Yeah, I definitely remember getting those like pre-stream jitters for a couple of years. Like I think it's only been really like in the last year it's like it just becomes so routine for me that I just don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely agree. Like listening to music, like that's what gets me like pumped up and ready for the stream. Like I'll just blast my music during the intro and stuff, and yeah, you get used to it. Like when you start streaming and you do it consistently, you do it a lot. Like you will get like it will become less of an anxious thing. Like I definitely remember like being like, oh god,
find a way to get on the bike and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that is going to wrap it up for us today, guys. This has been an awesome episode. Thank you, Backdraft. Thank you, Morag, so much for joining us today. It's been really insightful, and I know a lot of people are constantly asking about like this balance, trying to find the answers to like these type of questions. So thank you, guys. Morag, starting with you, tell us like where we can find you on social media. What are you playing? What are you streaming? What are you all about?
You can find me twitch.tv or twitter.com/tehMorag, TEHMORAG. You can find me live usually around 8 p.m. PDT or PST, and then I go for 8 to 12 hours. Like I've only had 3 hours of sleep today, so I'm gonna be going back. Sundays is Minecraft. I've been playing Dragon Quest. Just played through some Terraria. Also looking forward to a couple games such as Starlink, Red Dead Redemption, Final Fantasy, World of Final Fantasy, Monster Boy Curse Kingdom, Darksiders 3, Just Cause 4, Smash Bros.
Oh, yeah.
So many games.
Just
a
list
list.
of you and for the rest of 2018.
That's a list.
And you can find me on my TwitchCon panel Saturday, How to Monetize Fun. If you're going
Yes. Which is a critical one that ties into even the subject of today. That's one that everybody who is looking to do something with this in some professional format, you're not legally obligated to go to that panel. You really should. You need that information. I highly recommend checking out that panel. What time did you say it was on Saturday?
4:30 Sunday in the Cool Cat Theater.
Oh, Sunday.
Or Saturday. Sorry, it was Sunday. It's now Saturday.
Okay, 4:30 Saturday.
4:30 Saturday.
Awesome. Backdraft, what about you?
You can find me on mixer.com/backdraft, and you can also find me on Twitter at Backdraft Live, like what you've seen in chat. I generally stream Monday through Saturday, and starting around 4 p.m. Eastern. I play a lot of Destiny 2, and I'm going to start venturing into Call of Duty. I'm actually going to be streaming after this because I pushed it back so we could do this whole panel.
Thank you.
And I stream for a while sometimes. Like sometimes it could be like a 4-hour stream. Sometimes it turns into like, an 18-hour stream. Who knows? I like playing video games. But that's where you find me. It's pretty easy. It's common spelling. It's like the movie with Kurt Russell. Just not affiliated. Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. I got you. I really appreciate you guys having me on for this. This was
a pleasure.
A ton of fun.
Both of you guys are fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hunter, what about you? Tell us about yourself.
Survived I don't even know how long I've been. I feel like I've been lost in. You know what? I feel like I've been on an odyssey. Now, the more I worked along in there, that was completely unplanned. But that whole thing, right? They lead in the Odyssey. It's like goes through this narrative trajectory in the epics, getting lost at sea and going through having all these struggles and trials and travails. That's what I've been enduring in the most beautiful way with Assassin's Creed Odyssey lately. I'm a variety streamer. I don't know the last time I took a day off. I think it was 3 weeks ago ish. Which is not ever advised. Do what I say, not at all what I do.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, you can find me nearly all the time over at twitch.tv/TheHunterWild and on Twitter at TheHunterWild TV. It's got the TV at the end with all of my various antics and the things that pop out of my mouth fingers. And honored every week to be on this show, co-hosting it. I get so much out of it. I get so much information. It's beautiful. What about you, Lowco?
Hi, I'm Lowco. You can find me at twitch.tv/Lowco. I am also playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It is awesome. And also, I have been playing the new Call of Duty, and I actually have been digging it, which is, I feel like the past few years I haven't, so I'm really happy with it so far. So that's currently what I'm playing. You can find me on twitter.com/Lowco2525. And if you guys want more of the stream scene, I definitely recommend checking out our YouTube channel and our Twitch VODs, because all of our past episodes, which this is now our 34th episode, are up on YouTube. Yes. Yeah, thanks. It's been crazy. And you can definitely check out our website if you guys want more information about streaming. We have a ton of awesome guides for you guys. And finally, we have a Discord, which is open to everybody and a great tool if you want to network, ask questions about streaming, get some help others. It's the place to be. So definitely check us out there. I'll link that in chat in just a second. Thank you guys so much for being here. We will be back next week for a TwitchCon prep episode with some to be determined guests. So if you are going to TwitchCon, definitely don't want to miss that episode next week here on the StreamerSquare Twitch channel. Tomorrow we have the Stream Doctor featuring me answering questions and looking over your streams. So if you guys want some personalized feedback on your channel, definitely be there for tomorrow.
It's such a good show. It's so valuable. What time is it tomorrow?
4 p.m. Eastern time.
Mm.
And last but not least, we have a show right after that with Chickenators and Warbnell doing a episode of Your Brand, Your Business to talk about the story of Grand Pooh Bear, who is a notable streamer on Twitch, and talking about his business practices. So that's going to be tomorrow starting at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your Monday night. This has been The Stream Scene. See you soon.